Welcome everybody. My name is Jos Bergman and I'm working for Technology2Enjoy as a PeopleSoft consultant. And I would like to give you a short demo on PeopleSoft Services Procurement. What is PeopleSoft Services Procurement? It enables you to create resource requisitions to hire external staff. You can list the required skills and competencies of a candidate and source the requisition to the suppliers. Suppliers can offer candidates through the Supplier Portal. Once a candidate has been accepted, a work order will be created and the external staff member can start creating timesheets, which can be sent to PeopleSoft Payables to do self-billing. In the live demo, we will be creating a resource requisition. We're going to offer a candidate through the Supplier Portal. We're going to offer the position to the candidate. And for the last step, we're going to create and approve a timesheet. Let's log into PeopleSoft now, and then we can start with the demo. I'm going to click on the navigation tile for services procurement. And then I will create a resource requisition. And let's say that we would like to hire a project manager. Hit search, and then here we have a project manager. So I'm going to add one position. Click on add. And then it opens up the requisition. And as you see, most of the values have already been defaulted from the setup. You see the service method resource, the service type, the service, the requesting department, which is human resource, the job title, and we also see the competencies that are requested, such as the educational level, whether expenses are allowed, telecommute, travel required, and you also have your scoring criteria, where you can set up bid factors, and a particular weighting. For example, whether a candidate is willing to travel, or how important the rate is, or how much value and how important you find the interview, or his competencies. You can give a particular weighting here, because the system will calculate an overall score to find the ideal candidate based on a certain score. Here we can also enter the start and end date, and we can mention a rate, expense rate, if expenses are also allowed. And we have the accounting distribution here. And here I can actually select my suppliers. For example, if I want to use a preferred supplier, I can select one here. And then I will assign the requisition to a service coordinator, for example, and then I will do a checkout. And then I will save and submit the requisition. The requisition is now approved. It's pre-approved in my environment. And now at this point, we have to source the requisition to make it available on the Supplier Portal, so that suppliers can offer candidates. So I'm going to go back to the home page and clicking on the S-Pro and go to Review and Source. And then here we have our requisition that we just created. and I'm going to source it now. And let me see here. I'm just going to go into the bid factors for a moment, and I'm just going to remove the bid factor interview, because we don't need to do an interview for this particular demo for the sake of time. So I'm just removing this bid factor code for interview, and I'm just changing the weighting to 15 for these ones. So that it accumulates to 100%. Hit save. Returning back to the sourcing selection. And here I can source it. I can source it to the suppliers that we use. In this case, I only want to source it to one particular supplier, which is my preferred supplier. And the provider contact at that supplier is called Kevin Dons, who's going to offer a candidate for us. Hitting submit. So now the requisition is sourced, which means it's now available on the supplier portal for suppliers to offer candidates against or for. So let's go to the supplier portal. In this browser, you see the supplier portal. You can see in the URL in the top here, in the address bar, you see that the portal name is supplier. In that way, you know that you're in the supplier portal. The supplier portal is accessible. Is externally accessible. If you have allowed the portal to be open to the outside world, then people from outside your network can access the supplier portal externally. Suppose a supplier or a user doesn't have a PeopleSoft account yet, they can go to the supplier portal and click on the user registration tile, and then they can request for a PeopleSoft account, or they can register as a supplier. In this case, we already registered as a supplier. We already have a PeopleSoft account as a supplier, so we will log in as the supplier. So I will click on sign in, and then I will enter the user ID Kevin Dons. One moment. Did I enter the right password here? All right. And now we're logged in as Kevin Dons in the supplier portal. And I'm going to go to the secure homepage. And then I'm going to go to Manage Services. And here, at this point, we can actually offer a candidate for the requisition that was submitted to us, that was sourced to us as a supplier. So I'm going to open up the bidding folder, submit the service bid. And then here we see the requisition that we have received from our client with a request for a project manager. And we, as a supplier, will offer a candidate to our client. So I will go to the submit bid page. And here I see the original requisition as it was sourced to us. So our client is requesting for a project manager. We see the competencies that they request, that our client requests, and we also see, and here we can actually offer a candidate. So I can search by competencies, or I can just select a candidate from the drop-down list. So let's say we want to offer John for that particular project manager role. We can attach a resume, and we can also enter a pay rate. Let's say we would like to have a pay rate of 45. an hour, which is our supplier rate. And here we can also enter or answer some of the questions that the client is asking us. So let's see here, how do the candidates' competencies match? Let's say 100%. Let's say he has 10 years experience and he can start at these particular dates. John is willing to work from home. He's willing to travel, and expenses are included in the rate. So these are the questions that we've now answered for our client, because our client was asking these questions. So I will now hit submit. And now the candidate John has been submitted for that requisition. So as a supplier, we have now offered a candidate to our client. So now let's go back to the other browser session here. We are now logged in as the client in the employee portal as the client. And now let's review the candidate that has been offered to us for our requisition. So I'm going to go back to the home page, and I'm going to click on the services procurement tile again. I'm going to go to assess and award bids, search. And here we have our, we see an incoming bid for our requisition. And I'm going to open up the bid response page. And then we can scroll down. We see that here we see the current bid information. So we see that our supplier has offered us John as the candidate, and they would like to have a rate of $45, which matches our requisition rate. So we're very happy with that. There's the rates are we're happy with the rate that they're offering because it matches the rate that we would like to have. And we're happy with the questions here. We see that these are the answers that the supplier had filled into our questions. He has 10 years of experience. It's a 100% match. He's willing to travel. He's willing to work from home. So these are the questions answered by the supplier. So we're very happy with this. So let's say that we want to offer this position to the candidate. So I'm going to do a bid response to the service provider, Kevin Dons, and I'm going to put in an action, and I'm going to offer the position. And I will say, hello, Kevin. As a comment, I have accepted the candidate. Submit. And now we will go back to the other session here, and now we're back in the browser where we are logged in as the supplier. So as the supplier, let's go back to our home page, and we will go back to the managed services tile here. And let's open up the bidding page here, manage service bids, do a search. And here we see, as the supplier, we see that we have an incoming bid from our client, and let's open it, open up the bid page here. And let's see what the, so here we see that our client has accepted the candidate that we have offered. We see the comment here, hello Kevin, I've accepted the candidate. And at this point we can say, we can put in an action here, and we say we accept the offer. And then we say, hello Wes, thanks, I have accepted the offer. So as a supplier, we have now accepted the offer from our client. And now we will do a submit. And now we will go back to the client. This is the browser session for the client. And let's go back to the home page. And just for your information, the system will also send notifications, emails. So to inform you that there's something pending, that there's an incoming bid for you to review. So you will also get an email notification. So now we're back into the session of the client, and let's open up the assess page again. And here we see set 174. This is our requisition. And let's open up the bid response. And we see here that that our supplier has accepted the offer. We see his note here, his comment here. And so as a client, we are happy with the candidate that has been offered to us. We're happy with that. So we will do a final bid response to our supplier by saying we're going to fill the bid and submit. And at this point, the bid response is done. We have fulfilled it. We're happy with the candidate. And now we can actually generate the work order. When the work order is created, it will be sourced. It will be sourced to purchasing to dispatch a purchase order. And then once the purchase order is dispatched, we can also release the work order. And once the work order is released, the external staff member can create timesheets through the supplier portal, which we as a client can approve. Now, for the sake of time, I have already created a work order. I have already dispatched the purchase order and released the work order. So let's log into the supplier portal as an external contractor, as an external staff member. Let's log into the supplier portal to create a timesheet now. So let's go here. Let me sign out for a moment here. Let me just sign out, and let me just go back. So now I'm going to log into the supplier portal as the external employee, the external staff member, the contractor. So I'm going to, because now we're going to create a time. We have done some work. We have started working in the company as an external contractor, and it's Friday, and we have to submit our timesheets. So now I'm going to log in as the external contractor to submit my timesheets. Clicking on sign in, and logging in as John Inari, like this. Sign in. Supplier. Then we will go to the Supplier Secure homepage, opening up the Manage Services tile, and going to Manage timesheets. And here I see the work orders that I've been assigned to. And let's say we want to submit a work order or submit a timesheet for this. Let's see, for this particular date range. Let's see, for last week. Create a timesheet. And then here we say we've done 40 hours, 8 hours, 40 hours in total. And then review and submit. We're happy with the time report. And then submit the timesheet. And it will go into the approval, into the workflow for approvals. Click OK. So now we have as an external contractor, I have now created a timesheet through the Supplier Portal. And now as a client, we have to approve the timesheet. So I'm going to go back to the employee portal, which is the portal of the client. And I'm going to go to the home page. And I'm clicking on approvals, the approval tile here. And I see that there's a services timesheet being submitted by an external contractor that I have to approve. As a client, I have to approve it. So I see John is my external project manager, and he submitted his timesheet. And I will open it. And as a manager, I can see the information. I can see his work order ID. I can see whether it's billable. I can see the hours he has put in. But I can also see the amount that is for $1,800 in this case, because this timesheet can also be sent to PeopleSoft Payables to do self-billing, so that the supplier doesn't have to send us an invoice anymore. We can do the self-billing and do the invoicing for them. Self-billing, basically. So if I click on the timesheet line, as a manager, I can also see, if I click on the line details, then as a manager, I can see that the work order was created for $14,000. A timesheet has been submitted for $1,800. So there's a remaining amount left of $12,000. So $14,000 and $12,000 is remaining, $12,960. And here I can see the hours that have been submitted and the total amount. There's also a graphical pivot grid chart that you can see here, which gives you a visual chart. And you see the work order ID here, and the job title, the work order name, the business unit, and the timesheet name. So as a manager, I'm looking at this, I'm happy with it. So I'm going to go back to my header and I'm going to approve the timesheet. Oh, I'm sorry. I need to select the lines here. So I'm clicking on approve and I'm approving the timesheet. And now the timesheet has been approved for our external contractor. And at this point, you can actually transfer this information to PeopleSoft Payables, and then Payables will create a voucher based upon the timesheet. A voucher will be created, and that will be part of the self-billing process. It will go through the pay cycle, and the vendor or the supplier will be paid out through the pay cycle in PeopleSoft Payables. And that concludes this presentation demo about services procurement.